Hey everyone, Alexa Patty and Brandon Marcello here. Outside of Jordan-Hare Stadium after Auburn's 56-23 victory over Mississippi State. And Brandon, what are your thoughts on the day?
It was a butt kicking from the start. You know, Auburn scores 21 points in the first 6 minutes, 1 second. It was over. Christian Tutt really set things up after the Auburn defense stepped up and forced a punt. He got him in good field position. And from then on, State was battling bad field position. Then Tommy Stevens, who they decided to start at quarterback for some reason, got injured again. Then they brought in Garrett Schrader as their quarterback. They started moving the ball a little bit, but still couldn't do much against that Auburn defense. And Auburn was just heck-bent on stopping Kylan Hill, the running back, and they did a great job. It was his first game where they held him under 100 yards all season. He only averaged 2.6 yards per carry, I know that. Finished with 45 yards. So they did a magnificent job on him. They let Garrett Schrader pick up 89 yards, but that wasn't really a big deal. And it was just a blowout. The score wasn't even as close as a score. So, yeah. It was one of those games where after the press conference we're talking about, hey, Bo Nix had a good night. Seth Williams had a great night. Talk about Florida. It's time to move forward already after a blowout like that. Everybody's talking about Florida, and of course the players, they know a little bit about them, but they haven't gotten to watch them yet, and that'll come tomorrow, and then obviously Monday and Tuesday. But huge game coming up. It's the first road game in which it's two top 10 teams featuring Auburn since 2014 when Auburn went to Ole Miss. On November 1st, 2014, Auburn won 35-31. I remember that game vividly. It was a dramatic, heartbreaking loss for Ole Miss because of the way one player got injured trying to cross the goal line, but a magnificent victory for Auburn. But then they came back and lost, I think, their next two, and all of a sudden we're out of the playoff and SEC race. So anyway, this victory is huge for Auburn because what it sets up. It sets up a huge showdown at Florida. And as I've said, if Auburn goes to Florida and beats them, they're going to be the talk of college football. Everybody's been focusing on Clemson and Georgia and Alabama, and a little bit of LSU. But if Auburn goes to Florida and beats them, Auburn's going to be part of that conversation as well. It's crazy to think, but this is the last game inside this stadium until November when Auburn faces Ole Miss, actually. So the fans packed the place out. It was a sellout, and a lot of them were leaving in the fourth quarter to beat traffic because of just how much Auburn bludgeoned them. And I want to just talk briefly about Bo Nix. Bo Nix, I thought, was phenomenal tonight. We were hounding him last week about missing those deep passes. Not tonight. He missed one, but by that time the game was way out of hand. He hit every deep pass. He hit 8 passes of 20 yards or longer tonight. And Seth Williams was the primary benefactor of all that. He had 8 catches for 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was simply on target. Hit a 48-yard throw, a 39-yard throw, and that 48-yarder probably should have been a 51-yarder if Anthony Schwartz didn't step out of bounds. So he just did it all. And here's an amazing stat that Justin Ferguson of The Athletic researched, and I went back and looked to see if it was correct, and indeed it was correct. And of course it would be when Ferg finds it. But this is the first time an Auburn quarterback has thrown for 300 yards and rushed for 50 yards or more since Cam Newton did it against South Carolina in the SEC Championship game in 2010. That's quite incredible. And we all know how much Bo loves Cam Newton. It's his favorite quarterback, and he's a huge Auburn fan, obviously. And I mentioned it to him, and I said, hey, can I call Cam up? And he says, I might have to kind of rub it in his face. So great night for Bo Nix, great night for the offense, 578 yards of offense. Bo Nix and the first-teamers were off the field after they scored a touchdown, 14-16 remaining. It was a complete performance, as we all know, the best yet. But they're not satisfied. They had 4 fumbles tonight, including one by Bo Nix. They didn't lose that one, but 4 fumbles, and that's a focus. Gus Malzahn says it's going to be a focus. It's all those fumbles, and they can't do that at Florida and win. So, as Sal Cannella told me after the game, he said they're going to have to play even better than they did tonight to beat Florida. So, that's it moving forward. I don't know what else to say about this game because it's just one of those things where you can just talk about every single person because Auburn just whipped that ass. But I guess we'll just take your questions. I know we got, a couple from Instagram that we asked for you guys to put up, and so we'll just move on from there, Alexa.
All right, so our first Instagram question is, speaking of Bo Nix, do you think he has the potential to be a future Heisman candidate?
Yeah, I'm sure the potential's there. This year, obviously not. Probably not unless he does what he did tonight, every game remaining. But even then, I don't know because Jalen Hurts and Tua have done an amazing job already this season and probably already solidified themselves in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Probably going to be New York. Yeah, sure. At some point in his career, it's possible. But let's just, let's hit the brakes a little bit. He's had one really great game. And he's had some big moments, obviously. So we'll see moving forward. But he's on the right path, and the kid's got all the talent in the world. And we all know that, so we'll see.
All right, another Instagram question is, who is the best team in the SEC West?
Oh, gosh. You have to give the nod to Alabama right now based off what they're doing offensively. Defensively, Alabama just doesn't seem to be clicking as much as you would think. Same with LSU. LSU scoring a lot of points, but their defense is giving up a lot. Now we're live. Okay. Auburn's defense appears to be better than LSU and Alabama's defenses. But I have to give the nod to Alabama right now. And I think LSU and Auburn are probably really close together as the solid number 2 there behind Alabama. The problem is Auburn's got the tougher schedule out of all 3 of those teams. And so, the good news is Auburn gets Alabama at home. The bad news is Auburn has to go to LSU where they haven't won since 1999. So it's a little bit different. I don't know if we're still live. Are we live?
Yes.
We are live. Yes. Great. But that's the bad news with the schedule. And Gus even kind of commented on it tonight. Well, what was that? How do you say it? He goes, "Oh, we don't come back to November. That's a schedule."
Yeah, he did say that. I was like, "What a quote! What a quote! That's a schedule.
That's a schedule.
It is.
It is a schedule." And you've been here 7 years. I guess you could have voiced complaints to the SEC, but it is what it is at this point. So anyway, moving on. Now that we're connected, next question.
Seth Williams appeared to be favoring a shoulder. Why do you think they left him in and didn't pull him and let him rest for next week?
Yeah, they checked him out, and he seemed to be fine. He'd be perfectly fine. Then he came in and caught maybe 1 or 2 more passes, so he was okay. In fact, I think he did come in and talk to the media afterward. They say he's okay. So, yeah, that's why he kept playing. If you're okay, they're going to play you. I know it was a big lead at that point, but I think they're really still trying to get Bo and Seth still on the same page. Same with Anthony Schwartz, these other receivers, because they all haven't been healthy at the same time, a lot. So this past week at practice and a little bit the week of the A&M game, they finally had all their receivers ready to go. And so Nix is able to kind of get on the same page with them. And I think they wanted to continue that tonight by leaving Seth in.
All right, so in your opinion, how good of a team is Mississippi State?
As Jason Caldwell put it with 24/7 Sports, I thought he put it very well. He says, we found out tonight that Auburn's better than maybe we thought they were, and Mississippi State's worse than we thought they were. And you just look at the not common opponents, but the opponents that Mississippi State's faced. Kansas State lost tonight by double digits. Kansas State, of course, beat Mississippi State. That was their lone loss before coming in here. And Kentucky, last I checked, I know the score's gone final, but Kentucky was getting just demolished 24-0 by South Carolina. And Mississippi State needed a little help to beat Kentucky at home last week. So I think Mississippi State's a little worse than we thought. But I do think Auburn's a little bit better than we thought. They just clicked on offense tonight and got it going. I'd be interested to see how Mississippi State is in 3 weeks, and what they're doing, because I think that they got a pretty good quarterback in Garrett Schrader, that true freshman who played tonight. But, I just don't know if their defense is going to be able to keep them in a lot of games.
Excuse me. All right, so no. As of today, who has the best looking defense in the SEC?
It might be Auburn or Georgia. Florida's not bad either. I think Florida's getting overlooked a little bit defensively. It might be Auburn. The one thing that kind of holds me back about Auburn's defense is just the pass defense just seems to be slipping up a little bit. I was sitting next to Mary Kate, our former intern, in the box, and right before Schrader threw that first touchdown pass of theirs, I said, watch this, they're going to pick on Roger McCreary, they're going to throw the ball right at him, and they did, and they got a touchdown. And I said partially because McCreary just didn't seem to know what was going on in the play because he was tying his shoe, and he got up and looked around and was kind of just floating out there before the play, and I went, yeah, if I'm the quarterback, I'm looking at that and throwing right at him. And they threw in front of him. It was a little bit of a slant or a drag and easy play. The secondary has been a little disappointing these last couple of weeks to me. The pass rush, same. It's there at times, but it just isn't there all the time. They're not wrapping up on the pass rush. They're doing great against on the run defense, but I said this on Feinbaum yesterday. This is how you beat Auburn. You throw the ball against them about 30 times. And you just hope your defense can slow down Auburn's offense, which some teams have been able to do. We'll see what Florida does next week. Kyle Trask, Florida's quarterback today, set a school record with 18 straight completions. Dan Mullen can coach the heck out of quarterbacks, guys. We all know that. And it's going to be very difficult, even if that thing was played here at Auburn. But it's especially going to be difficult at Florida. And as I said, the one thing that holds me back about saying Auburn maybe has the best defense in the SEC, which I think they probably do, is that pass defense. They got to shore that up. Something's got to change there. And I think it's a combination of things. It's the pass rush, but also the defensive backs.
All right, what is a key matchup fans should be looking for in this game against Florida next week?
I think it's Auburn's pass defense. Their D-backs against Florida's receivers. Towson, is how you say it. That's who Florida played today. They actually held Florida pretty much in check running the ball until the fourth quarter. So, I think Auburn's going to continue to, do a good job against the run. It's just I worry about that pass defense for Auburn. I think Auburn's offense has got to start out hot. I don't think they want to play from behind in the swamp. It's obviously going to be hot there, you would think, and it's going to be a little bit muggier than it is here. That place is like a sponge. If I recall, I haven't been there in 10, 11 years, but I just remember it just feeling like I was inside of a sponge being out there. So it's a little different of an atmosphere and weather and everything. So I think Auburn's offense got to start hot, and Auburn's got to figure out a way to, when they're on an island or one-on-one in pass defense, they've got to stop teams.
All right. Do you think our defense has the potential to shut Florida out?
No, I don't think so. Not on the road. Auburn hasn't shut an opponent out yet. I don't see that happening on the road against Florida. I think Dan Mullen's a very good, offensive guru and developing plays and schemes and everything to go against Auburn. I think the one thing that kind of favors Auburn in this game a little bit going forward is that Auburn's kind of had Dan Mullen's number until he had like Dak Prescott at Mississippi State, if you guys remember. Auburn was like the one team that he couldn't really beat, even when he was at Florida with Tim Tebow, as you guys remember, when he was the offensive coordinator, I should say, at Florida. Things have changed, times have changed, obviously, but I think for Auburn, they've just got to find a way to keep this offense rolling. They're not going to score 50 points at Florida. If they do, holy crud, wow, amazing. Auburn might have a legitimate plea to say they're number one in the nation, but I think they're in a game like this, they got to score about 28 like they did at A&M a because I think this will be a game that's probably in the 20s. But the thing that gives you a little hope, I would think, is the way Florida performed against Kentucky. But they were a different team then. Felipe Franks got hurt in the fourth quarter there, and then Kyle Trask, the true freshman quarterback, came in and led them to 3 touchdowns. So one could argue their offense has actually improved with the true freshman quarterback. But now that teams, including Auburn, have like about 2.5 games of film on this kid, it'll be interesting to see how Auburn attacks them on defense.
All right, so we will have a couple more questions. We finally saw DJ Williams. Can you talk a little bit about his performance tonight?
Yeah, I thought he did well. They got a hold on the football, but he's what I think he's been, since the spring. I think he could be the second tailback, not necessarily as a change of pace, but a guy that's right behind Boobie Whitlow as the every down back. If they need him, they could put him in there. And it was good that he got some carries tonight. There was some hesitation, I think, maybe on Auburn's part to maybe play him tonight, but he was not fully healthy, but he was pretty healthy, so they put him out there, and he ran hard. I liked what I saw, and that's good going forward because, as we've said in our VIP Insiders, they expect him to have to be a guy that maybe has to carry the ball 5 to 10 times in the game at some point later this season because it's just they're going to get worn out.
All right, so if they beat Florida, how do you think the rest of their season should fare after the bye week?
They should enter. My expectation is if they beat Florida, they'll enter November with 1 loss, and that 1 loss will be at LSU. LSU just seems their offense is incredible, and Auburn hadn't won there since '99. Things change, but the thing is though is if no matter what, if Auburn enters November with only 1 loss, Auburn's going to be in the thick of the SEC race, and they're going to have a chance to go to the SEC championship, in my opinion, because Alabama and LSU are going to beat each other somehow, some way. And tiebreakers are tiebreakers, but you would think maybe Alabama would have the advantage there, but we'll see. But I just don't know. I don't see how this Auburn team could beat LSU, but I think they could beat everybody else on the schedule other than LSU on the road. I think they could beat Florida on the road. I think they could beat Alabama at home, and I think they could beat Georgia at home because things change in the stadium behind us, and we saw it in 2017. Let's go with 2 more questions if we got them.
Okay. Early odds had Florida favored by 7. Now hearing the odds markers are scrambling and torn with this game and could even be a pick'em. Thoughts?
I saw someone say that it was probably going to be about 3 points, and that was before this game tonight. I would think it'd probably be about that anyway. Home teams usually get a 3-point swing in their favor anyway, and then you make the odds from there. So this would be a pick'em at a neutral site, so to speak. But I expect Florida to be a slight favorite when that line opens Sunday afternoon at some point. But I'd be kind of surprised if Florida's favored by a touchdown.
Let's go ahead and talk about real quick. Where'd it go? Well, I know it was a question about how do you think our defense is, what type of their quarterback. How do you think our defense is going to handle their quarterback?
I've seen Kyle Trask a little bit. He can run, and, I don't think he can run as well as Garrett Schrader did tonight. That kid's pretty good. But Auburn's got to contain that guy. They got to figure out when to blitz. They've got to get to the quarterback. That's been an issue. They just haven't been getting to the quarterback as much as I thought they would, and we'll see. I think this will be a big key next week, as I said, because, as I said, Auburn's pass defense worries me a little bit, and the way to change that is to get a better pass rush. So we'll see. We'll see how it matches up. I think it'll be a very close game next week in at Florida, like a 24-21 type game or something. So we'll see. Anyway, that's it. We have plenty of stories, videos, all kinds of stuff at auburn.247sports.com. I'm going to head to the house and maybe write a little bit more and go to bed. And then Sunday, much more. Gus Malzahn will speak, and It's Florida week finally. Actually, it's Florida week right now, right? Is it past midnight?
Today,
It's Florida week, everybody. Have a good one. See ya.